You think you lack food when the shelves are empty. The truth is you lack security when prices rise 20% in just a few years and no one warned you. No one announces the day things become more expensive than you can afford. You only realize it when you swipe your card and look at the number. Food rarely disappears overnight. It becomes more expensive. It shrinks in portion. It becomes unpredictable. And most people do not run out of food. They run out of choice. When you lose choice, you lose calm. And when you lose calm, every decision becomes more expensive. Today we are talking about 12 powdered foods that can last 27 years or more. Not doomsday food, not plastic bucket marketing, but real food with protein, with fat, with fiber, with micronutrients, with flavor, and more important than all of that, control. Long storage is not about stockpiling in fear. It is about not panicking when things change. Long-term storage is not complicated. You only need 4 things: cool below 21 degrees Celsius, completely dry, no oxygen using proper absorbers, and darkness because light destroys vitamins faster than you think. The market may fluctuate. The supply chain may slow down, but your system should not. And when you build that system, you do not just have food, you have stability. 12. Egg powder, a protein foundation independent of the system. During a widespread power outage week, fresh eggs will be the first to disappear from the shelves. Not because there are no chickens, but because there is no refrigeration system. Fresh eggs last 3 to 5 weeks in the refrigerator. After that, you must use them quickly or throw them away. Egg powder, if properly stored in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, kept below 21 degrees Celsius, can last 25 to 30 years. Not 2 years, not 5 years, 3 decades. One serving provides about 6 grams of complete protein, containing all 9 essential amino acids. One number 10 can equals nearly 7 dozen fresh eggs, but takes up only the space of a large coffee can. This is not survival for a day food. This is nutrient density compressed into a small space. And here is what matters even more. In a long-term crisis, the body does not collapse loudly. It does not fall in one day. It retreats little by little. You do not feel hunger first. You feel weakness first. Protein deficiency does not feel dramatic. It causes you to lose muscle, lose strength, lose recovery ability, especially for people over 50, when with each passing year, natural muscle mass already declines if not maintained. Protein is insurance for strength. Strength is insurance for independence. I once tried living 7 days only on stored food. What I remember most was not hunger. It was the feeling that I could still cook breakfast. That moment is the real value of preparation, not survival, but keeping your familiar rhythm when everything outside becomes abnormal. But egg powder only has real value if you use it correctly. The most common mistake? Mixing it in a rush and cooking on high heat. The standard formula is very simple. 2 spoons of powder plus 2 spoons of room temperature water. Let it sit for 5 minutes so the powder fully hydrates. Then cook over medium heat. High heat creates rubber. Medium heat creates eggs. Beyond making scrambled eggs, egg powder is also a perfect binder in baking, making meatballs, making pancakes, or when you need to cook without refrigeration. It opens more options when outside choices narrow. Egg powder is not a symbol of panic. It is a symbol of calculated preparation. Because when the refrigeration system stops working, those with stored protein do not just eat, they stand firm. 11. Powdered milk, calcium beyond refrigeration. In any large-scale disruption, refrigerated trucks stop before farms stop. Milk does not disappear because there are no cows. It disappears because there is no cold chain. Fresh milk depends on electricity, on transportation, on a continuous preservation system. One broken link and the entire system halts. Meanwhile, non-fat powdered milk, if stored sealed, dry, and cool, can last more than 25 years. Whole milk powder lasts only about 5 to 10 years because fat oxidizes over time. That is not a small detail. That is the chemistry of time. A typical glass of milk provides about 300 milligrams of calcium, nearly 30% of an adult's daily requirement. Calcium does not make you feel strong immediately like caffeine. It does not give you a sense of power, but it quietly maintains the structure that supports your entire body. Bones do not ache loudly before they break. They thin in silence. Calcium deficiency does not make you feel anything today. It sends the bill years later. Falling at age 30 is an accident. Falling at age 70 can change the rest of your life. I once heard a 72-year-old man say that the fall in his bathroom did not frighten him most because of the pain, but because of the feeling that his body was no longer reliable. Preparing food while forgetting the body's structure is preparing halfway. But the real strength of powdered milk is not in drinking it straight. It is in the ability to recreate normalcy when everything around you becomes unstable. Making bread softer, making soup richer, making mashed potatoes smoother, making yogurt when the store is closed, creating cheese sauce for a simple dinner, adding to coffee when fresh cream is no longer available. In a prolonged crisis, people do not collapse because of a lack of luxury. They grow tired because of a lack of familiarity. A cup of coffee with a milky taste, a bowl of soup with smooth texture, a loaf of bread that is not dry. That is not just nutrition. That is the rhythm of life continuing. A small but important tip: do not mix powdered milk and drink it immediately. Mix it in advance and refrigerate overnight. Time allows the protein to restructure, and the texture improves noticeably. Powdered milk is not an impressive food. It is structural insurance. Bones do not care whether you like the taste. Bones care whether you have enough calcium. And in any unstable period, those who remain standing are the ones with the advantage. 10. Whey protein. The thing you only remember after it is gone. On day 5 of a diet entirely from stored food, you still have rice, still have beans, still enough calories. But when you stand up from a chair, you realize your body feels heavier than usual. Not because you gained fat, but because you lack strength. That is when protein reveals itself. In a prolonged crisis, people do not collapse first because of a lack of calories. They collapse because of a lack of recovery ability. The body needs raw material to repair muscle every day. Without enough protein, the body will withdraw from your own muscle mass. High-quality whey protein isolate provides about 25 grams of complete protein per serving. A large container can hold more than 1,000 grams of pure protein, far more compact than canned meat or canned fish. When stored airtight and dry, it can last 10 to 15 years without refrigeration. But what matters is not only the number of grams, it is the speed of absorption. Whey is used quickly by the body. When you are sick, when you lose sleep, when you cannot eat much. Liquid protein is easier to digest and places less strain on the digestive system than meat. One viewer once shared, "I am 63 years old. After last winter's flu, I lost nearly 3 kilograms. What frightened me was not the weight loss, but the clear feeling of weakness. Losing weight can feel good. Losing muscle does not. You can mix whey into morning oats, smoothies, baking flour, or simply shake it with water when cooking is not possible. It is not glamorous, but it is a quiet layer of protection for your mobility. Muscle is not just for strength. It is so you can stand up on your own when no one else is there. And in any unstable period, the ability to stand up on your own matters far more than having full cabinets. If you had to choose between storing an extra 5 kilograms of rice or an extra 1 kilogram of high-quality protein, which would you choose? And why? 9. Butter powder. When the body needs real fuel. Have you ever eaten a meal full of rice and still felt something missing? Not hungry, but not steady. That is not because you lack calories. It is because you lack fat. Calories are not the same. Carbohydrates give you quick energy. Protein repairs the body, but fat keeps energy stable. Each gram of fat provides 9 calories, more than double that of carbs or protein. During stressful periods, the body burns more than usual. If your rations are mostly starch, you may have enough calories on paper, yet still feel tired and irritable. The problem is, fat is hard to store long-term. Cooking oil can start to turn rancid after a few years. Fresh butter depends entirely on refrigeration. Butter powder, when properly sealed, can last 20 to 30 years. It is not for spreading perfectly on bread. It is for cooking, baking, mixing into rice or mashed potatoes when you need more energy without increasing food volume. One viewer once commented, "We tried eating only stored food for 7 days. Calories were enough, but by day 6, everyone was irritable. Adding a little fat to dinner changed the atmosphere immediately." Fat does not only affect energy, it affects mood, and it helps the body absorb fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, K. A lack of fat is not just a lack of calories. It reduces the efficiency of the entire system. When energy is stable, decisions are more stable. When decisions are stable, situations become less chaotic. Butter powder does not look impressive on the label, but it solves a practical problem: how to maintain long-term energy without depending on refrigeration. Have you ever tried eating stored food continuously for many days? What exhausted you most? The lack of good taste? Or the lack of real energy? 8. Dried soup powder. Mental insurance. Calories keep you alive. Hot soup keeps you clear. There is a difference between being fed and being comforted. In prolonged, stressful periods, the body can tolerate mild scarcity. But the nervous system cannot tolerate cold and constant pressure for long. High-quality dried soup powder, if stored sealed and dry, can last more than 25 years. But its value is not in the number of years. It is in the ability to create a hot bowl of soup with just water. Not all soups are the same. Choose types with beans, lentils, real vegetables, not just starch and salt. A good bowl of soup provides fiber, protein, and complex carbohydrates. But what matters more is temperature. Warm food helps the body shift from a state of alert to a state of stability. Warm temperature activates the relaxation response of the nervous system, slowing the heart rate and reducing muscle tension. That is not a feeling. It is physiology. I once experienced a winter night power outage. The house was not freezing, but cold enough that no one slept deeply. What changed the atmosphere in the room was not when the lights came back on. It was when water boiled and the smell of soup rose from the small kitchen. Just minutes later, people spoke more slowly. Shoulders were no longer tense. No one talked about the outage anymore. Soup is not just food, it is ritual. Boil water, stir. Wait a few minutes. That rhythm slows thinking, softens the air, eases conversation. In a prolonged crisis, Food does not just nourish the body, it regulates emotion. When emotions are stable, you think more clearly. When you think more clearly, you make better decisions. And in any unstable period, good decisions matter more than large portions. If one day everything becomes tense, what do you think you will remember more? A few extra 100 calories, or a hot bowl of soup that helps the whole family breathe slower? 7. Cheese powder against flavor fatigue. Long-term survival rations do not fail because of a lack of calories. They fail because of monotony. Eating the same taste for weeks does not make you hungrier. It makes you more tired, more irritable, more likely to give up. That is called flavor fatigue. When the brain no longer receives new stimulation from taste, interest drops, dopamine drops, motivation drops. And when motivation drops, discipline drops with it. Cheese powder can last more than 20 years if stored sealed and dry. It provides stable fat, something difficult to store long-term because oil turns rancid and fresh butter spoils quickly. But its greatest value is not fat. It is the ability to change flavor. Just 1 spoon sprinkled over rice, a little mixed into soup, a thin layer in a bowl of noodles. That small change is enough for the brain to register different. And once it feels different, morale stabilizes. Humans tolerate hunger fairly well. They tolerate boredom poorly. In prolonged stress, you do not need a rich menu. You need enough variation so that meals do not feel like a burden. Flavor is not luxury. Flavor is a tool for psychological endurance. If you had to live 30 days on stored food, what would make you give up first? Lack of calories, or lack of a little taste to keep going? 6. Powdered peanut butter. Stable protein when you do not want to guess. Regular peanut butter usually lasts only 1 to 2 years. Its high fat content makes it prone to oxidation, oil separation, and rancid smell if not stored properly. No one wants to open a jar of food after a few years and have to smell it to guess whether it is still safe. Powdered peanut butter is different because most of the fat has been removed. If stored airtight and dry, it can last 15 to 20 years without refrigeration. About 7 grams of protein per serving, not to impress, but enough to provide steady supplementation when other sources are limited. Its greatest strength is not flavor, it is reliability. Much lighter than a dense jar, no oil separation, lower risk of rancidity, easy portion control, less risk when transporting or rotating long-term storage. In practice, flexibility is the real advantage. It can be mixed into morning oats to increase protein without making the meal heavy. It can be stirred into smoothies or powdered milk to add thickness. It can be rehydrated into a spread for bread or turned into sauce for noodles and vegetables. It can even be mixed into baking flour to increase protein without significantly altering structure. When mixing, add water gradually to control thickness. If you want a texture closer to fresh peanut butter, simply add a small spoon of vegetable oil while blending, and always use dry utensils. Moisture is the greatest enemy of long-term storage. If you buy a large bag, divide it into smaller portions and vacuum seal after opening to extend shelf life. Perfection is not the goal of long-term storage. Risk reduction is the goal. Powdered peanut butter is not meant to impress you. It is meant to keep you from worrying. If one day you had to choose between something tastier but requiring yearly checks and something stable enough to forget for 15 years, which would you choose? 5. Freeze-dried fruit powder. Preserving summer for 30 years. This is an item many people do not consider when building long-term food storage. When talking about 25 to 30 years, people think of rice, beans, protein. Few think of strawberries, mangoes, or bananas. But freeze-dried fruit powder, if stored airtight, dry, and away from light, can last 25 to 30 years while retaining most of its natural antioxidants and micronutrients. The freeze-drying process removes water, but preserves nutritional structure far better than heat drying. Vitamin C, polyphenols, antioxidants, the things the body quietly needs every day, yet are easy to miss in long-term storage rations. The body can tolerate a calorie deficit for a few days, but the mind cannot tolerate a lack of color for too long. The usage is extremely flexible. Mix into yogurt, sprinkle over oats, add to baking flour, blend into water to create a micronutrient-rich drink, or combine with powdered milk to create a more natural and pleasant flavor. Especially helpful for older adults when appetite declines. One important tip: freeze-dried fruit is highly sensitive to moisture. Always use a dry spoon, seal tightly immediately after opening, and if buying a large bag, divide into smaller portions and vacuum seal. Just one exposure to moisture can significantly reduce storage life. In a prolonged crisis, what wears people down is not always hunger. It is the absence of fresh taste, the absence of the feeling of normal. A bowl of oats with a touch of red from strawberries, a spoon of fragrant mango in yogurt, a hint of natural banana in bread. Those small things preserve the feeling of living, not just surviving. Survival is not only about extending life. It is about not letting the mind dry out. If you want to continue building a storage system that nourishes both the body and the spirit, subscribe to the channel so we can prepare in a smarter and calmer way. 4. Vegetable powder. When the trucks stop. In recent days, winter storms have swept across multiple states from the Midwest to the Northeast. Heavy snow, interstate closures, thousands of canceled flights. When trucks stop running for 24 to 48 hours, the first thing to disappear from supermarkets is not meat, not canned goods. About 72% of domestic freight in the United States is transported by long-haul trucks. If that system slows for just 48 hours, produced shelves begin to empty. Not because of a lack of food, because of a lack of time. It is fresh vegetables. Because fresh vegetables in the United States depend on continuous transport from California, Arizona, and Mexico. Supermarkets do not stockpile for many days. They rely on daily deliveries. If trucks stop for a few days, produce shelves go empty. Frozen vegetables, dependent on electricity. If power goes out during a snowstorm, the freezer is no longer a long-term solution. That is not a doomsday scenario. That is the reality of a just-in-time system. Vegetable powder, if stored sealed and dry, can last up to 25 years. Not dependent on trucks today, not dependent on electricity tomorrow. A lack of vegetables does not make you collapse on day 1. It begins quietly. Day 7, slight heaviness. Day 10, discomfort. Day 14, the digestive system begins to react. Morale drops with it. No one talks much about this. But in a crisis, you do not fear lacking vegetables. You fear your body stopping cooperation. And when the body stops cooperating, every plan stops with it. A spoon of carrot powder in soup, a little spinach mixed into rice, tomato powder in ground meat, mashed sweet potato blended into sauce. You are not just eating vegetables, you are keeping the system running. Important tip: add vegetable powder near the end of cooking to preserve color and micronutrients. Always use a dry spoon and seal immediately after use. If opening a large bag, divide into smaller portions to prevent moisture from causing clumping and reducing shelf life. Protein helps you stay strong. Calories help you survive. But vegetables keep the body functioning smoothly. A winter storm does not make America run out of food. It only needs to slow trucks for a few days. And a few days are enough to realize survival is not just about having enough food. It is about ensuring your body still functions normally when the system outside is no longer normal. You can live without vegetables for a few days, but would you want to try a few weeks? 3. Bone broth powder, mobility insurance. Collagen does not disappear in one day. It declines gradually, year after year. Cartilage thins, joints lose flexibility. A dull ache sets in. Freeze-dried bone broth, if stored sealed and dry, can last more than 20 years. It preserves collagen, minerals, and amino acids needed for connective tissue. It does not sound impressive until you have to stand up from a chair. As we age, the first thing lost is not strength, it is flexibility. Joint pain equals limited movement. Limited movement equals dependence. And dependence is what people fear. 1 spoon of bone broth powder mixed into hot water creates a collagen-rich soup base. It can be stirred into rice, sauces, porridge, or used as a base for cooking soup. It is not food meant to fill you up. It is food meant to restore. Tip: dissolve in warm water before adding to the main dish so it blends evenly. If purchasing in large bags, divide into smaller portions and vacuum seal. Collagen is very stable when dry, but moisture quickly reduces quality. This is not just food. This is mobility insurance. Survival is not only about having enough energy. It is about keeping the ability to stand up on your own. If one day you need to move quickly, do you want your body to cooperate or resist? 2. Coconut milk powder. Concentrated energy when needed. Fat is the hardest thing to store long-term. Coconut oil usually lasts 3 to 5 years. Coconut milk powder, if sealed and dry, can last 20 years or more. The difference lies in structure. Dense fat means dense calories. And in high-stress environments, dense calories have value. The body burns faster when cold, when stressed, when sleep-deprived. 1 spoon of coconut milk powder added to soup, rice, curry, or oats can significantly increase energy without increasing food volume. It also makes meals easier to swallow, especially when appetite declines. Not only because of richness, because of stability. Fat helps stabilize energy. Stable energy helps mood fluctuate less. Tip: mix coconut milk powder with warm water before adding to a dish to avoid clumping. Always store in airtight packaging. If opening a large bag, divide into smaller portions to limit air exposure. In cold environments or prolonged stress, you do not just need to eat more. You need to eat smarter. Survival is not only about getting through the day, it is about having enough energy to continue the next one. If you had to choose between adding another bowl of starch or adding dense fat to sustain energy longer, which would you choose? 1 baking system. When you can still bake. What matters is not each individual item, but how they connect with one another. Egg powder, powdered milk, and butter powder on their own are only stored ingredients. But when combined, they form a foundation. From that, you can make bread, biscuits, pancakes, cream sauce, base dough for dozens of other dishes. That is no longer just food. It is capability. The ability to turn dry flour into warm bread. The ability to turn stored ingredients into aroma in the kitchen. The ability to create something new from items kept for decades. In economic turmoil or during winter storms when trucks stop running, most people are simply trying to have enough to eat. But when you can bake, you are doing more than that. You are preserving rhythm. Flour is mixed. The oven is heated. The smell of baking spreads through the kitchen. Routine returns to normal within minutes, and normal is stability. A baking system does not just provide calories. It provides structure, habit, and a sense of control. Survival is not about storing isolated items. It is about building a system that can produce meals when needed. When you can still bake while the market is in chaos, you are not just eating. You are proving that your life has not been interrupted. Preparation does not make you richer. It does not make you more special. But on the day everything changes, it preserves something priceless for you: calm. If today you could choose only 3 items from this list to begin, what would you choose? Share below. Here, we do not talk about fear. We talk about quiet readiness. And if you are preparing in a smart way, subscribe to the channel so we can continue together.